Good evening, and you have just finished watching the BRAC 2020 Mayoral Forum here at the River Center Library. We just heard from the 6 candidates running for East Baton Rouge Parish Mayor, President, and of course we're going to keep those questions going. We're going to start with Ms. Sharon Weston Broome, and we're keeping our distance because of COVID-19, and you know, we making sure everyone is safe and everything. A couple of questions I want to ask couple of things that were brought up, but we want to get a little more in depth here.
Sure.
One of the things I want to ask is the plan to keep people from moving from Baton Rouge. You hear a lot of times, you know, some talent, the people come here to LSU, they come to Southern, they get their education, and they leave. The plan to keep them staying here.
Well, I believe that all of the different projects that we already have rolling out serve to help keep people here in Baton Rouge. Let me give you an example. You've heard me say time and time again, movie BR world, when people look at places where they want to stay, they look at how is the accessibility, how can I move around? And in the future, we're even looking at multimodal options, such as the bus rapid transit, which is going to move out with our Plank Road Corridor project, 9 miles, where people can go from Harding Boulevard all the way down to LSU. So that certainly will be an attraction. With our movie BR, we're building walkable communities, sidewalks, bike paths. All of that adds to the quality of place, which helps sustain your population. In addition to that, we're reaching out to the tech industry, to the medical field, which are the trending jobs right now, so that there will be opportunities for our graduates once they graduate from our fine universities.
Yeah, you mentioned the medical field, of course, that's, you know, front of mind. COVID-19, the pandemic, something that none of us can escape from.
Yeah.
Until there is a widely available vaccine, how will you organize your administration's approach to the pandemic to ensure protection of the public health while balancing the struggles of small business owners and individual workers today?
You know, I really am thankful for the rollout and response that we had to COVID-19. It was one that was very thought out. It was not haphazard. We used data, research, and we used wisdom from the medical community. So we stood up our first testing site without the help of the federal government, the state government. We had a drive-through testing site. In addition to that, we started mitigating by canceling certain programs that were going on, certain events. So that kind of put us ahead of the game. I'm certainly going to rely on our medical professionals, but also hand in hand, we've worked with the business community through our Restart Baton Rouge. And that's been part of the mayor's business roundtable. I've always said, you know, I do not think that addressing the health and well-being of our citizens has to be mutually exclusive from our economy. And so that's why I've had business people at the table talking about how do we survive and restart, if you will, after COVID-19. And I've also had the medical community. I believe that's why we've had a successful path forward in response to COVID-19.
Okay, now, you know, those were some serious questions. Before we wrap things up, we're going to do a little rapid fire round. Try to get a bit about your personality.
Okay.
It's something that we like to call this or that.
Okay.
All right, wine or whiskey?
Neither.
Okay. Facebook or Twitter?
Facebook.
Okay. Thanksgiving or Christmas?
Christmas.
Po' boys or gumbo?
Gumbo all the time.
Beach or mountains?
Beach, beach, beach. Water, water, water.
All right. Sharon Weston Broome, best of luck to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. It's our first candidate for our questions tonight. Next we have Mr. Steve Carter. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Phenomenal. Unbelievable.
All right. Yes. So just one of the questions, and it was touched on during the forum itself, but the plan to keep our talent here in Baton Rouge.
Well, we need to clean up our act, to be honest with you. And what I mean by that is the crime rate obviously is on everybody's mind. You heard that tonight. We have to find a way to solve the crime rate. Flooding is a problem. We need to make sure that we minimize the flooding that we have in our parish, because nobody wants to come here if you have crime, if you have flooding, and if we have high unemployment rate, we have litter, et cetera, et cetera. You heard all these comments tonight. So if we clean up our act, then we can get people to stay here, and we can get people to come here. So that would be what my priorities would be, to try to solve those problems.
Okay. You know, a big thing, the pandemic. We've been dealing with it for almost a year now, for all of 2020 pretty much. Until there's a widely available vaccine, how will you organize your administration's approach to the pandemic to ensure protection of the public health while balancing the struggles of small business owners and individual workers today?
Right. Well, as far as safety is concerned, CDC and all the experts in the medical field, we have to talk to them and make sure that we use best practices, because safety is critical. We don't want people to get the disease, go in the hospital, go on ventilators, and pass away. That's horrible. So that's one thing that we need to do. As far as businesses are concerned, I don't think you can treat all businesses as just one. You need to make sure that you customize what you're going to do and give them the opportunity to flourish. Make sure that we follow the guidelines, make sure that we safe distance, make sure we wear a mask and do the things that are necessary. But we can't just say, as a bar, if you are an adult bar that older people go to, they're probably going to be a little bit more responsible with the things that they need to do for safety. And it's been seen that, and I'm not knocking the young people, I'm not knocking the college-age people, but at Fred's, they packed them in there, and COVID spread. So we need to make sure that we give people options and allow them to open, because businesses are suffering right now. So we need to make sure that we give them the opportunity to be successful, yet be safe.
Yeah, and we're being safe because we are 6 feet apart here, although we're not wearing masks. Want to make sure that I just get that point out there.
That is scary. You know, you have events like this, and they did a good job with it. But when you go out in various areas and stuff, and I may have a gathering of people, and I don't know who these people are sometimes, and I don't know who they've been associated with, yet they're fairly close. It's scary. It really is. And so people need to make sure that they use safety to do the things that are necessary to prevent the spread of the disease.
Yeah, and we're trying to be a perfect example of that. All right, this is what we like to call a quick round, a little this or that. Wine or whiskey?
You know, I ran the New York Marathon back in 1999, and one night I'd gone out and had a few pops and felt horrible, and I'd run 15 miles, and I hardly ever have a drink since then. So neither one.
Okay, all right, that's fair. Facebook or Twitter?
I'm horrible. I can't do either one of them, to be honest with you. So, neither.
Okay. Thanksgiving or Christmas?
Christmas.
All right. Po' boys or gumbo?
Look at my stomach. Gumbo.
Okay. And beach or mountains?
Oh, absolutely beach.
Okay. All right. Mr. Steve Carter, best of luck to you.
Thank y'all for what y'all do.
All right,
Appreciate everything.
Thank you. All right. We're going to keep our candidate questions going. Next up is Mr. Matt Watson, who's got his mask on. He's taking it off since we are 6 feet apart.
I am, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Good evening to you. You know, this was pointed out during the forum a little bit, but you know, living here in Baton Rouge, we have LSU, we have Southern, fine institutions of higher learning. People come from all over the world here to learn,
Absolutely.
to get bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, PhDs,
Correct.
law degrees. But somehow we can't keep them. You're planning to do that.
I'll tell you what, you kept me. I moved from Midland, Michigan, the world headquarters of Dow Chemical, came down here, was lucky enough to get a scholarship. I moved to Louisiana of my own accord, took a year after undergrad, went to California. It was just as crazy as everyone told me it was going to be, and moved back to Louisiana, the place that I absolutely love. I believe in this place. I'm raising my children here. They go through the public schools, blessed enough to be through the magnet program, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm making sure that I'm working for our community, because the hardworking men and the women that live here want to stay here. They want to see their kids stay here, and we can make that happen.
How?
By building the community that we want everyone to live in. It's not rocket science. I mean, the bicycle master plan, to reducing crime, cleaning up blight, giving people a reason to be proud of where they're from. You're proud of your family, we're proud of the food, we're proud of the music. Let's go out and look around our community and be proud of what we see, and that's exactly what my plan is as mayor president.
Okay. You know, the other big thing that we've been dealing with, everyone's been dealing with, is the pandemic, COVID-19. We mentioned it before our conversation here started. Until there is a widely available vaccine, how will you organize your administration's approach to the pandemic to ensure protection of the public health while balancing the struggles of small business owners and individual workers today?
I think what you need to do first and foremost is have people like Dr. Gayard, be the state's foremost expert on COVID-19, come out and speak directly to the people, just like I'm speaking to you and speaking directly to you at home. Have him come out and answer questions, talk about what's going on the medical side of things, explain to people who needs the protection the most, make sure that we get those folks protected, find out what we can do to open our economy up because people have suffered enough. We don't want people to get this disease. Heaven help folks who've had it, and God bless those families that have lost loved ones who've gotten it. But all in all, we've got people who are facing some terrible things in their own life that aren't COVID related other than through the governmental response. We need to find a way to open our economy back up and get the wheels turning for the economy, for everyone else who lives here.
Okay.
Do it as safely as possible.
All right. The next portion is a little lighter, not as heavy as the other two questions I asked.
Right.
Is what we like to call this or that.
All right.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Okay. Po' boys or gumbo?
It depends on how hot it is outside.
All right. Thanksgiving or Christmas?
Oh, I love Thanksgiving, but I love seeing my kids open presents on Christmas.
Okay. Facebook or Twitter?
Facebook. Facebook.
Wine or whiskey?
That wine.
Okay.
Wine, just because I enjoy drinking with when I eat rather than just drinking.
So you're wine with a po' boy or gumbo?
The wine I would choose with the po' boy
No, I'm
or
just
gumbo?
saying you would have it with,
Of
with
course,
the,
of
with
course.
The food.
On a cold, if we could get a cold night, have some gumbo and a glass of red wine, that'd be pretty good, rather than whiskey.
All right, sounds good. Matt Watson, best of luck to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.
All right, we continue our candidate questions as we do our Forum Post show with Miss C. Denise Marcel, who is, just like everyone else, is wearing her mask. Good evening to you.
Good evening to you, sir.
And of course, we're keeping our distance 6 feet apart.
Absolutely.
As you know, we're dealing with a pandemic here, and I'm going to start the question about the pandemic. Until there's a widely available vaccine, how will you organize your administration's approach to the pandemic to ensure protection of the public health while balancing the struggles of small business owners and individual workers today?
Well, first of all, you know, I will let the data drive my decisions based upon the medical suggestions that they would say that we were in during that period in Baton Rouge, right? So that's A. And then B, I would certainly work with our small businesses to lift them up. When you lift your small businesses up and you give them some type of incentive or tax breaks, then they can hire people back. And then you get your economy boosting again. I think that's what we have to do. I'm certainly a proponent for masking up. I think you may have seen my campaign on billboards. So I support the mask up until we're safer to take them off. And so that's where I am with that. And I think that's what we have to do as a city. We got to look at what the data says about our parish, and that's what will drive all of my decisions based upon keeping the parish healthy, safe, and certainly our vulnerable population, which is our seniors.
Mm-hmm. You know, one of the things that was touched on in the forum was education, and we have LSU, we have Southern University, and incredible institutions of higher learning where people from all over the world come here to attend those universities. But it just seems very difficult for them to stay here. Your plan to keep them from moving away?
One of the things we can do, certainly with both, you said it best, we have HBCU, Southern University, one of the greatest institutions ever, and certainly the flagship LSU. One of the things we can do is similar to what they do in the nursing program. So if you attend school and we give you so much funding to attend our school, and then you have to stay in our economy and give back to our economy for so many years after you graduate. I don't think we have too many of those programs here. I know the nursing school at Our Lady of the Lake has one, and so that gives people, first of all, the opportunity to go to school, and secondly, it gives them a reason to stay here at least for a number of years. And I think that the number of years is 2 or 3 years that you have to stay here, and you sow back into this economy. That's one of the things I think. But we cannot lose focus on what we have in Baton Rouge with LSU and Southern University, and we need to find our niche. Baton Rouge needs to find its niche and what we're good at. And so that could be sports kinesiology, or that could be the medicinal, the marijuana that we're now, pharmaceutical marijuana that we're now growing at both LSU and Southern University. I think we have to train our people, or train people would stay here if we develop the curriculum around that. And so I passed a resolution in the House to do just that, to support our students in doing that in that area. But we've got to figure out what our niche is here in Baton Rouge. We have great food. Maybe that's culinary. We've got to do what they did in Austin, Texas. They found tech, and so they're now known as the tech. And we have great food, we have great sports, we have LSU, Southern University. Find our niche, and let's, champion in on that cause, and let's promote that for our city.
Okay. The next couple of questions are a rapid fire round. They're not as heavy as the previous questions I asked you. So this is what we like to call this or that. So you choose one of them.
Okay.
Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Okay. Po' boys or gumbo?
Gumbo.
Thanksgiving or Christmas?
Christmas.
Facebook or Twitter?
Facebook.
Wine or whiskey?
Neither.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
a non-drinker.
All right. That's fair enough. Ms. Denise Marcel, best of luck to you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me.
All right.
I've had a great time.
All right. Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right. And in the background, you probably have seen our crews going back and forth, breaking everything down as we continue to ask the candidates for East Baton Rouge Parish Mayor President some post-forum questions. Coming up right now is Mr. Jordan Piazza. Good evening to you.
Good evening.
This is our first time meeting in person. We've talked on the phone before about different stories and things like that. The first question to you, the pandemic, you can't turn away from it. It's here. And we've seen everyone wearing a mask, so we're 6 feet apart and making sure that we're safe. Until there's a widely available vaccine, how will you organize your administration's approach to the pandemic to ensure protection of the public health while balancing the struggles of small business owners and individual workers today?
Well, as a small business owner, I can tell you how it feels to be shuttered. I mean, my business was closed for months, and we're still recovering. We had to lay folks off, and we're still trying to get back to normal levels, and we're not there. But I think we need to be clear. A vaccine is not a cure, and there's a big difference. So when a vaccine comes out, it's going to be a help fight the battle, but it's not the end of it. And so coronavirus is going to be here for a while, and we have to have an economy that can weather any storm. We have to shift the responsibility from the from the businesses to the individuals, because at some point, just like we're doing right now and keeping distance, we have to ensure that the people are responsible in what they do. And so when you make the businesses the policing authorities, they're not equipped to do that, and that makes tough times for businesses. So we must reopen our economy. We must also educate the people like we've done, but we have to shift the responsibility to the residents in our community, ensure that we don't prohibit our businesses from opening and being able to survive. And we have to also aggressively recruit new industries so that we can educate a workforce that no matter what comes, we can retain folks here and ensure that we continue to grow. And right now we don't have that, and we have shown that with something like COVID-19, our economy is shuttered, and we cannot be dependent on that in the future.
Yeah, and then that's a great segue to my next question, because you mentioned about retaining folks here, the workforce and everything. And with our institutions of higher learning, we've got some of the best in the world. People from around the world come here to either Southern University or LSU. What would you do to keep them from moving away?
Well, more importantly, we need to focus on what we can do to keep them here by ensuring that we have enough industry here. Right now, we don't have enough businesses and enough industries that pay well enough to keep people here. We've got to aggressively go get larger companies to come to Baton Rouge and entice them to want to come here so that our youth can stay here. Right now, if them staying is a sacrifice because we don't have opportunity for them. But we can't provide opportunity for them until we recruit those businesses. And we can't recruit those businesses until we address our crime, which is why we have to give our police officers a $10,000 raise immediately. We've got to get 100 more patrol officers on our streets because we have to instill law and order. The folks that live in these areas of crime don't choose that area. It chooses them, and the criminals have to be held accountable. There's some bad apples, but we got to get them out. And until we have law and order in the city, until our police knows that we have have their back, and until that we fix our educational problem, which my opponents talk about, it's not the mayor's responsibility. The mayor can have a role in education, and the mayor needs to, and this mayor will have a role in education because we have to demand better. And if that means we have to take the public school system away from the school board and create a charter system where the mayor's office and council can have direct control, then that's what we have to do. That's the only way we're going to recruit new industries that can provide the jobs for our talented youth to stay here.
Okay. The next couple of rapid-fire questions, very light.
Yeah.
Learn a little more about your personality. This is what we like to call this or that.
Okay.
Wine or whiskey?
Wine.
Facebook or Twitter?
Facebook.
Thanksgiving or Christmas?
Christmas.
Po' boys or gumbo?
Po' boys.
And beach or mountains?
Beach.
Okay. All right. Jordan Piazza,
all right.
Thank you so much. Best of luck to you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
All right. And so we continue our forum, post-forum questions, and you can, like I said before, see some activity in the background. Our crew's breaking down our set from our forum here at the River Center Library in downtown Baton Rouge. And our final candidate here is E. Eric Gayard, who is going to answer some questions for us. And
I'm last?
well, you know you know what the old saying is, right?
Best for last.
All right. See, I let him say it.
Yeah.
So go ahead. All right. So a couple of questions. One that, is just one of those things that we just can't turn away from. We're dealing with this pandemic.
Yep.
And so many people have been hurt by it in any kind of way. You just, you think about it, and it's hurt so many people. Until there is a widely available vaccine, how will you organize your administration's approach to the pandemic to ensure protection of the public health while balancing the struggles of small business owners and individual workers today?
Well, let me tell you, I am totally against the way we've addressed this thing from the start. I think we have been dominated by it. We've been running fear from it as a city, as a state, as a country, as a world. Today, the World Health Organization came out, and so did this group of Oxford, Harvard, and Stanford scientists, said that lockdowns were a mistake. The World Health Organization said that lockdowns actually caused poverty to double in the world in the last 6 months. So that was a total mistake for us to do it like that. We need to treat Americans and all people as the free-thinking individuals, adults that we are. So yeah, it's a dangerous thing. I think the numbers are overblown probably as far as deaths attributable to COVID, but I think individuals and individual businesses should be respected and given the opportunity to work their businesses without the government intervention that is causing all kind of a myriad of other problems that I think are even worse than the COVID. So to me, we have to be smart about it, go forward with it, but take off the reins on the people and let this economy survive and let it thrive, because otherwise it's all going to tank. So we have to come together and come to that conclusion that we are free Americans, and let us be free.
Okay. Fair. One of the things that was pointed out in the forum was education. And I know you mentioned that several times.
I did. It's my big thing.
Okay. But, we have LSU, we have Southern University.
Yep.
And they attract some big talent from around the world.
They do.
A lot of times it's hard to keep that talent once they graduate.
It does.
Your plan to reverse that?
Well, you got to change the city. You got LSU and Southern, that's great, and people do come here and get educated here, and then they leave. They go to Austin, they go to Nashville, they go to Houston, wherever. So until you change the fundamentals of the city, you won't get those people to stay. You won't get new businesses to come. As a matter of fact, Albemarle, our only one of our few multi-billion-dollar companies, left about 6-7 years ago. The CEO's son was my son's best friend, so my son lost his best friend too when they left. So we got to change education with my fund it, don't run it. Privatize the whole system. Let the government still pay for it, but privatize it. Change that whole mindset. All of a sudden there's an entrepreneurial windstorm of education that descends upon the parish, creating all kind of spin-off businesses. And the police, you got to get rid of the crime to a large extent, because people don't want to locate here if they don't feel safe. So let's change those two things mainly, along with the traffic, which is horrible. So if you change the fundamentals, the foundation, then you can build on that. You build it and they will come, like they said in the old baseball movie.
Mm-hmm. Field of Dreams.
That's
Kevin
right.
Costner. Yes.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
Great film. This next round, these questions, rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
Yes. Very light. Learn a little more about your personality, because we all know that you do have a big personality.
Yes.
Yes. Beach or mountains?
Excuse me?
Beach or mountains?
Oh, beach.
Okay. Po' boys or gumbo?
Gumbo.
Thanksgiving or Christmas?
Christmas.
Facebook or Twitter?
Facebook.
And wine or whiskey?
Wine.
All right. All right.
I can't show personality in one word answers, but that's fine.
Well, but it gives people an idea of what you like.
I
So that's a
guess,
little bit
but
of
there's
your
nuances,
personality.
just like those rapid-fire questions in the thing. I don't like those.
Yeah, you didn't like those.
Yeah, because they're all not yes and no. You know,
Right.
there's ways to answer those things. Anyway,
Yeah.
don't
Well,
like that.
We learned a little more about your personality.
I guess.
All right, Mr. E. Eric Gayard, best of luck to you.
Thank you. FuseTheRouge.org.
I knew you were going to say that. All right. Well, that's the end of our Forum Post show. Those questions, you learned a little more about the candidates, a couple of more tough questions about their policies and their thoughts on things, and even a little bit more about their personalities. So hopefully that the large majority, the big number of undecided voters who may be watching this, you kind of are closer to deciding on who you'll vote for Election Day, 3 weeks from today. So go to the polls and vote, do your research, and make your voice be heard.